Alright, I'm going to do my best to do a tutorial on what I've never tried to do before. I got a new brake controller that I want here, and this AC 115 volt power button I want to relocate to here, or if it won't reach, I'll put it here and move this aux cord here, because that's more related to the infotainment center. I have a Platinum, so I don't have a blank space on any of my buttons, so I'm going to be putting in the brake controller here. First things first, you've got to get a small flathead screwdriver, kind of wedge it in here, and then these just get pushed down a little, just like that, and then right here in the middle, push down a little, and over on the side, push down a little. Once you get the top pried out, you just pull the whole panel. Comes right out just like that. Next thing I'll do is remove these two here and remove the panel entirely. Alright, that was a lot harder than I thought it would be. There are 4 prongs on the back of this. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And trying to get all 4 at once is a lot more difficult than I thought, but this panel's now out. I've got some USB cords for my Apple Play for my stereo, but you might not have those, but you'll have your one on the right, and then this is the one on the left with the 4 prongs that was difficult to get out. Next thing you'll need to do is remove this panel. This one's going to be in the way. Everything just kind of snaps in, so if you kind of get your fingers on there and pull this panel, it'll pop right out. You can pull on this first, give it a little nudge. I should knock this one loose. It's hard to do this with one hand. I'll see if I can. So that just props out like that. You don't need to completely remove it. You just need to gain access around here. And then the AC controller, you'll just pull the panel just like that, and it pops right out. Got little detents that it pops into, and then you can maneuver it around here, and then right there the whole thing comes out, and you just disconnect the plugs on the back. We have this for the actual, see, I don't even know what this plug goes to. I've got a plug here for some type of wire, and I'm not sure why it's not installed. Guessing that's a feature my vehicle doesn't have, but this is the back of the AC controller. Right there is for the AC controller. And then we've got the 2 seat climate controls. One here. And there's, so you can see there's a little button right here you got to push in. Push that tab in, and then pull on the back. I'm having a hard time doing this with one hand. So I'll pull that out. Don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Pull out the second one. And then last but not least, we have the audio input jack, which is here. So I'm going to disconnect that as well. And then this whole unit comes right out. Now we've got to move that auxiliary jack over to the right side. So we will turn this around, and we've got a blank over here and the auxiliary jack over there. There's 2 prongs on this auxiliary port, or blank port, excuse me, on the back. There's one here that will push through on that side, and then the second one's on the other side. Got to push that in. There we go, pushed them both in, and this just pops out, and there's that blank that we'll hold on for later. Now we'll go ahead and remove the auxiliary audio port. Same thing, reposition it so I can see it better, and then we've got one here that will push in, and one on the other side that will also try to push in. See if I can get this in frame. There we go, and it just pulls right out. And there's the auxiliary port. And all we're going to do is flip this back around. And that auxiliary port's going to go from there to here. And I've already seen a problem. I can see there the 2-in-1 display and 2-in-1 display are backwards. I don't know if that's built in. It looks like it is built in. Well, that's a real kick in the butt. So we're gonna have to modify that switch a little to get it to fit. We'll see what I can do with that, and then I'll let you know. Alright, so I just laid down on the floorboard there, reached my hand up behind, and grabbed these 2 pins on both sides with my fingers and pinched them, and the plug just pushed out. There's a little button here you press in, pops out, and there we have the AC 115 controller. And we'll see if it'll just plug in here. It won't. So I'm gonna have to file this down a little more to make this fit, and I'll show you the results. Alright, so I just used a rectangle file on both of those. And this one's built where it's got 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Mounted in the correct orientation. I added a second one. Let me get something I can point out with. Added a second one here, filed down, and then I carved one there into the middle. So now this just drops right in and snaps in. So looks pretty stock to me. Aux moved over, rear power for the media center moved over as well. Now I'm going to route that cord from there over here. I didn't show you when I took this out. I'll show you when I put it back. These 2 bolts hold on this bottom panel. When I reinstall it, I'll show you that. As you can see, I had to remove a lot more than I thought. This is the wiring here to the 110 controller, and unfortunately it goes into this bundle, and I really don't want to rip the bundle apart, and it wouldn't reach over there. It barely reaches to here. I'm going to tear that bundle apart a little more and try to move my 110 to there. Or actually, I might just put the 110 back and put my brake controller there. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I changed my mind. We're gonna put the 110 back over here where it was. We're gonna move the diff lock button to here, and then I'll put my brake controller there. Because fortunately, none of these plugs here are long enough to relocate to there. But this is the diff lock cord here, which will reach to the AC controller panel. So that's what I ended up doing. I had to file this down even more because this plug is different. It seems every plug has its own unique set of little guides there, so it's a real pain in the butt, but we got it to work. So this will mount there. I'll have my diff lock here, my suspension modulation here and here, tow haul, brake controller right next to each other, so it kind of works out better anyways. And then I'll keep the 110 plug where it was, right next to traction control on the rear window. Gonna reroute all the wires now and get all the plugs back in. Alright, I am going to do some work on my stereo, which is why it's out. That's a whole nother story. I might make some videos about that. But I've got this finished up. I've got my diff lock and my auxiliary moved over. My diff lock cord is right here. So I'll hook that back up, but I'm not going to do that until I finish the wiring for my stereo. To keep on track though, I installed the Red Arc plug here. It's not installed yet, and then I ran the cord down through there. You can see the cord moving, and then out right here, and it's just kind of laying on the ground right now. So first off, we're going to start with the switch. It came with this one But like I said, I got the Pro Elite with Sequoia packaging from Tandom Offroad. They sent it as a whole kit, and it came with its own trailer brake button that fits the housing. So what I'm going to do is take off the Red Arc knob and take off this twisty lock, and then it goes on there like that. I might have it backwards. It's really hard, I apologize, to try to record with a phone, you know, not having a mount. It looks like the inside of this has a little divot. I'm guessing it can only go one way. Try to hold the phone. Well, that's not going to work either. It might. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you can. But it doesn't work like that, so it's got to go in like that. So I had it upside down. So there you go. That goes on there like that.
What are you doing?
Focus in. And then, can you hold the camera for me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, my daughter's going to help me out and hold the camera for me. So that little punch out goes on the bottom there, and then this goes over it, and then you put this white plastic piece on there and tighten that up. And in the directions it said not to over tighten it, so I'm just going to put it on finger tight as best I can. And there we go, we have our brake controller. You can hear it clicking and moving, and then we'll put our selector switch on there like that, and we have all the way to the left and all the way to the right. So if we go all the way to the right, it should be at 10, so we're going to put the 10 up, and then we go all the way to the left, we're at 0. Alright, in order to drop this down, I had to take all 4 bolts loose. There's one 10mm bolt there, 10mm bolt there, 10mm bolt there, and one black one down there. You can see it right underneath that white pipe. I loosened the bottom 2 and took out the top 2. I have an aftermarket alarm remote start box that's located right here, which is, from what I understand, the suggested location. I tried, it just wouldn't fit, so I actually am going to end up mounting it to this side here, which required me to modify the bracket a little, and I'm going to have to install the brake controller on the bracket prior to installing the bracket. This was bent at a 45. As you can see, I made it a 90 so it can fit in that location a little better, and I put all 4 of these bolts and nuts in. The bolts are a 3/32 Allen key, and the nuts are 7mm. So you'll need those as well to install the controller with the supplied hardware for the Sequoia. So I'm going to go ahead and install that bracket in and show you how it looks. Alright, you can barely see it back there, but I do have it mounted. Let's see if I can get the lighting adjusted. So the brake controller is mounted right there, right here. I don't have a lot of light, but you can see that top access plug for the controller. And then on the bottom, I'm going to have to move this relay right here out of the way in order to get the power cord plugged in. So we can see the bottom of the brake controller right there. And once again, this is just a zip tie. I'm going to end up cutting that zip tie. Looks like you can see better from this angle. Don't know why I can't get in focus. Let me see if I can turn on a light here. Battery too low to use flash. Oh great, so my battery's dead. The controller's right here. It's not wanting to focus though. on that. There's not enough light. But I'm gonna plug the controller plug in there. Just snaps in here.
Daddy, look.
Just like that. It's really having a hard time focusing. I apologize for that. So that goes in there, and then that'll run around behind the brake pedal to the factory wiring location, which is this plug right there. And then we're going to take the Red Arc controlling cable here and route it up over and plug it in the top. Alright, so I had to adjust the bracket a little. So I got the top plug in, I got the bottom plug in. Let's see if I can focus on that. There you go, right there. And I pulled all the extra cord back up in here. You can kind of see it looped around in there. So that way it's not hanging down. So the controller is installed. Now I have to put the lower panel back in and install those two bolts on the bottom. Right there you can see the hole, and over there you can see the hole, and I'll get that installed now. Alright, so I've got mostly everything back together. There's two snaps on this side, here and here. Two snaps here. They just pop out and pop back in. And then, like I said, there's got two 10 millimeter bolts. One's there, one's here. So now we've got our wiring harness hanging down. So since I routed from the right, I'm going to route up and over everything. First, I'm going to put it up over the ducting for the air valve. Now this is upside down, but this is the steering column here. We're going to go under the steering column so we don't interfere with that. And then I'm going to feed them right through here under the steering column. Get that brake controller in there too. Or the ground wire is what I meant to say. Just like that. Now we're going to go to the other side of the bracket here for the brake pedal and grab those two wires. Pull the slack down through. So those are out of the way of the steering column, so my steering wheel is not going to be hitting them. And then we'll put it up here, make sure it's not in the way of it. See, now we're squishing the e-brake cable, squishing it. So we gotta make sure we don't do that. So I'll probably put a zip tie right here around these. Make sure it's pulled down. I'll throw a zip tie there, and I'll do a roll with that. But then as far as the plug goes, got our plug here. Come on, focus. There we go. That plug is going to plug into this harness. Just like this. There we go. And then our ground wire is going to secure to that 10 millimeter bolt. All right, we've got zip tie installed. Clean zip tie right there. Routed the cable down. Just kind of tucked this back in there, keep it out of the way. Then I ran it behind these two cables here to hook up to the factory wiring harness plug. Push some of these other connections out of the way. Make sure nothing's going to interfere with the panel. When the panel goes back on, and mounted the ground wire up right there. I ran that behind the existing grounds to kind of keep it tucked back in there. Now, next thing we do is we put our kick panel back in. This goes up. You see that bolt there? Goes over that bolt, like so. And then this one up here should be a piece of a hole back there that that one slaps into. Right there, heard it click. And this bottom one down here, we'll see if we can't get to line up in there just right. There we go. So now kick panel's back installed. Got no wires hanging down. Everything looks good. Again, this is for my radio OBD2 sensor. And then the only thing left is put this little cap, that's what I have, over the screw hole. And then we have this running board here to install. And again, these are just snaps. Nothing special. Snap it in. And there we go. As long as we get a light on our brake controller, we've done everything correctly. Let's see what we get here. I'll have to read the directions, but we got a blue light, so we've got power to our brake controller. So it looks like we're good to go now. And when we press the brakes, it's not lighting up when we press the brakes. So maybe that might be a problem. I'll figure it out. But I'll get a trailer hooked up and I'll let you know if it worked.